Welcome, welcome to Uncomplicating Business. I'm so happy you're here. We are still doing interviews this week with people I love and want to talk about trust with. And my favorite people should just be your favorite people, I guess is what I'm saying to you. Today I have one of my dear friends. You know, the magic of the internet is it brings you friends. And Jess is like a friend. We go places. We go to the beach. We like do things together. We talk. We've talked, gosh, every other week since early 2020, maybe at least, sometimes more than that. And we have been friends a long time now, which is magic. She is a money mentor and a mindset coach, and she owns Mindset Financial Coaching. She works with women entrepreneurs and she wants them to feel better about money and simplifying numbers and not being as overwhelmed by them, and also wants them to both grow as people and as business owners around money. It's not just about business money, it's not just about budgets, it's about all the things. She is really good at changing how people think about money so that they can actually be friends with it instead of like frenemies, because frenemies sucks. She also does a million other things. She is a homeschool parent. She is a competitive archer, and you should definitely like connect to her and ask her about that because when your kid needs competitive archery tools and has decided she likes them, they're a great resource because they told us all the things to buy. And she's an artist, and she's a Harry Potter fan, and she's magic. Jess, I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too. It's always a good day when I get to see your face.
I know. So we are going to talk about trust, and we are going to start with really the way I've been starting these with everybody, which is what does it mean for you to trust yourself and your business today? Like, what is your definition of trust?
I still think it's funny that you wanted to talk to me about this because over the years, as we have grown together, this is an area that I have struggled with. And you remind me all the time on how, to like trust myself better and all of that. So, my definition has been changing and evolving. It used to be very much a knowing that everything is going to be okay. And while it's still that, I've recently started realizing it's that and understanding that okay might not look the way that I thought it was going to look, and that's okay too. Like it's understanding that it's all going to work out, even if while it's working out, it doesn't feel like it's working out. Because when you can look back at all of the things, you'll be able to be like, oh, okay. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and that's yes. Well, it's the trust is allowing it to work out the way it works out
Yes. As
rather
opposed to
than
forcing
making
it
it
to, yes.
work out the way you think it should,
Right.
which is so different, but also so hard. Um, because we have a picture in our heads, right, of how it's supposed to look or
Mhm.
how we think it's supposed to look. And I don't know about you, but mine never. Every now and then I'm
No.
like, oh yeah, that's what I thought would happen there. And the rest of the time I'm like, oh, huh.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been having a lot more often of the moments versus the like, oh yeah, there it is. Like it has been like it's been an interesting kind of exploration of me and how I have changed how I see things and what trust actually feels like. Because I think that was my biggest, in my head, trust was like, I could be a control freak because I can make it happen. Like, I trust it's going to work because I'm going to make it work. And that doesn't really feel good. And that typically doesn't happen. And if it does, it's hard or like a struggle or like there's an easier way is what I'm learning. And if trust is the softer and understanding versus a forcing, it feels different to think of it that way and it is quote unquote working better doing it that way.
Well, it feels like the difference between trusting and controlling,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think what you're talking about first is trying to create success by controlling all the variables,
Mm-hmm.
like controlling with a capital C, controlling
Capital all of that.
versus like the allowance version, which
Yes.
is very different and very and I to me it always feels kind of counterintuitive.
Oh, absolutely. My brain is like, what do you want to do that for? We should do it like this because this is what everybody else says. This is what the internet says. This is what, as opposed to actually listening less to my brain and more to my me, for lack of a better way of
Mm.
putting it. Like,
Hmm.
okay, but how does that feel? Like, what do I feel like doing, but not in the wishy-washy. I feel like sitting on the couch and eating bonbons all day, but like trusting that I'm going to be led to what I should be doing. That whole like intuitive action kind of thing.
Yeah.
Trusting that the things that are meant to happen will happen in their time. I just have to be willing to listen to them instead of just listening to my angry little brain that's like, no, you have to do it like this.
Well, the idea that you can trust your knowing, but not necessarily all your thoughts,
Yes, exactly.
right? It's that like just because I had a thought type, my brain typed a thought doesn't mean it's true.
Yep.
I imagine that like an angry little guy in a typewriter sometimes,
Yes,
which is a
absolutely.
strange little window into my world where I'm like, ooh, the typewriter guy is angry today. He has many things to say. But it's and I think it's a willingness, right? There's a component of willingness in there that I think you are a really good example of a willingness to do it again, a willingness
Mhm,
to keep at it, a willingness to step forward, a willingness to step out, a willingness to like see what the experiment leads to, a willingness to pick up the archery or the paintbrush or whatever and see what comes out the other side is,
mhm.
I think, a component, a thing we get to do when we're working from trust.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and the willingness to also be willing to fail. Like
Mm.
it might not work this time, and that's okay. And the willingness to get back up and do it again, like you said, like, and I never really thought about it that way with me until you were saying, I'm like, yeah, people have told me before I'm scrappy and I'm tenacious and I'm resourceful, and I don't, I don't see that in myself because in my head it's like, well, what else am I going to do? Like you
What
just
are
get
the
back
other
up and do it
choices?
again.
Yes. Well, but I think that that's the truth. Like, we never see that in ourselves.
Mhm.
We never see ourselves as fighters because we always see, like the worst possible versions. We see all
Right.
the lack versus all the fight, and everybody else sees it in us. So, I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but like, talk to me about the process of learning to trust yourself as human being, but also as business owner, because I think those are different.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason, well, A, I love you. And B, I think the other part of the reason, I think you have thought about this for a really long time and you've really worked at this. Like, I think it's the difference between, there are people that are like, oh, I'm going to choose trust. Okay, got it. I'm not one of them, but also you're not one of them. And
Mhm.
you were like, I don't know if I want to pick this. I don't know if I want to pick this. I don't want to pick this. Like you sort of, it's the like kid that has to really work hard at the math homework too, right? I was also that kid. I had to fight for that. And you've had to fight for it. And so I think that that makes it really interesting and there gives other people a lot to learn because, we don't learn as much from people that were like, it just worked. You're like,
Right. Those people you kind of want to throw punch every so often.
correct. Correct. You're like, oh, that was nice for you.
That's so cute.
So
Thanks.
learning to trust yourself. Talk to me about how that looked.
Well, first of all, it's been very messy. Like it's not linear, which I like, this. I like linear. I like pretty little lines and numbers that line up and a straight path. And anybody who's in the entrepreneurial space knows that doesn't actually exist at all. When you can zoom out, it can, but for the most part, when you're in it, you're like a roller coaster. There is no easy. So learning to trust in my business was learning to kind of uh, how to know when to keep going and when to know when to pivot, even if my pivots were tiny, even though I thought they were huge, but other people think that they're tiny. But knowing that it's all just in my head, a game. You use the word experiment a lot. I like game, like it's a game. Which way does it go? Which path do I take this time? And kind of testing, sticking with it long enough to kind of see how it feels, And
Mm.
sometimes it works and sometimes it needs to be tweaked. And sometimes it's like, yeah, that's not me right now. So let's try this over here. And just again, understanding that it's a process. It's just kind of one step and then another step and then another step. And the farther you go, the more you see, but you can't see that until you take the steps forward.
Yeah. Well, and so I think what you're saying is it's been like the word that comes to mind is like iterative, like over and over, you just do things over and over and over again.
Mhm.
But the second, and I think one of the things that is tricky for a lot of people is the idea of iterative over time. Because we like to be like, nope, that didn't work, gotta go try something else. Bye. And like it's the sticking to it for a long time and letting it grow over time, which is hard. It's like the slow cooker method of business versus
Yeah.
the frying pan because nobody wants to be in the frying pan. But we're also like impatient.
Correct. 100%. And it's also been interesting that, I mean, I've been in the coaching space for like little over 5 years now, is when I kind of got introduced to it and all of that. And that was right when this huge bubble of like all of these people were suddenly making $1 million and that's all you saw. And then when you're watching what they're doing and you're like me, where, okay, this was a part-time thing, I have other responsibilities, and it was growing, but very, very in my head slowly. It was a steady growth, everything, year after year after year, it's getting bigger, but it wasn't that like explosive, like frying pan kind of explosive growth. And you start to wonder which way is the right way,
Mm.
or the like, how come I'm not doing that? And how come it's not over there? And how come, but now, looking at this point now, a lot of that has kind of fizzled and died for the explosive frying pan kind of growth. And I'm still here. I have a lot of friends that when I first got started, we all were kind of in this together, and you're one of the few that I still talk to that is still in it too, with that
Yeah.
steady kind of just plugging along and making it happen. And not any like bad words or anything towards anybody else.
No, but it's like it is that
The
process of
persistence.
building trust is
Yeah.
long term.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
not to say you can't be better at it tomorrow. And sometimes we're not like, oh, right?
Right.
Because we all have those moments
Right.
where we're like, oh no, okay. And you see something, but it is over time,
Mhm.
right? And you have to let trust is allowing the things that you're doing to work for you, I think, versus just what we were talking about earlier, controlling them.
Correct.
So, what have you had to learn to trust in yourself? Because you just told me about trusting your business. What have you had to learn to trust in Jessica?
Ah,
Friends, she didn't like that one.
there was a face.
Yes.
Um, in trusting in myself, I'm a knowledge gatherer. I really love to learn. That is my favorite thing. But in doing that, a lot of times I have so many voices in my head then, and so many options, and so many right way, air quotes, right ways of doing things, that I forget that I have my own voice and my own experiences and my own information and my own knowing, and learning to get to the point where I can trust that part instead of overlooking that and being like, well, I've only been doing this for so long, or I don't really know. I'm a big, in my head of I don't know enough. I need to learn more. Not true, but that's how it kind of shows up in my brain. And my biggest kind of trust exercise was starting to realize I could listen to myself if I could get quiet enough and stop listening to everybody else, to find the path that's best for me, to find whether it's the business model, the way I want to market, the way I'm raising my kids, the way, all areas of my life. I lead a very unusual kind of life, I feel like sometimes, because we don't follow the same paths as a lot of other families. And it was getting to that point of trusting myself and, okay, no, this feels like the right path for us, and then waiting to see what happens.
Well, and I think that it's what you're talking about is like you can be a learner, so many of the people that listen to this are learners because teachers and learners and it all goes together. We
Yep.
like a learning. I like a workshop more than anything. But it sounds like the shift has been from listening to other people's expertise first versus listening to your own first.
Mhm.
It's not that you're not still learning, it's that you're putting what you know to be true side by side with it rather than secondary to it.
Correct. Or ignoring it completely. I've had times where, in my gut, I wanted to do this thing, but well, this person knows more. This person makes more money. This person must know what's best for me,
Mm,
and going that way instead, and then it not working
right.
as
Well,
well as it could
because
have been.
yeah, because it was like a discounting of your own self,
Mhm. Correct.
which is, I think we do that all the time in a
Oh
million
yeah.
ways,
Yeah,
right?
we again because we don't trust ourselves. I work in the money space, and women, we don't trust ourselves. A lot of women don't trust themselves with money. So it's that kind of there's a lot of our own stories that we have based on stuff that happened to us before that makes us stop trusting ourselves or think we can't trust ourselves because the outside world's job is to market to us that we're not, good enough as we are. We obviously need this thing and that thing, which is a whole other tangent. So
Well, so let us take a tiny little side trip into money because money is what you do best. Not that, well, it's not. It's like one of the
I was
million
just
things
saying,
you do best. Talk to me about, what you'd say more about what you just said about the things people don't trust about money and because I know that you have learned a lot of things in your own self, in your family, and the things that you do with money, and that informs the work you do. So talk to me about trust and money and people and you.
oh, okay. Um, so trust and money and people and me. So money is a very powerful, not even powerful, like a very dramatic topic, a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A topic that it brings up a lot of feelings for a lot of people. So it's not
Yeah,
something,
it's like a hot button.
yes. So it's not something that's shared a lot out there. And because it's not something that's shared, or when it is shared, it's, these people saying, I just made $10,000 in 12 minutes. Um, so because it's something that's not, it's a taboo kind of a topic, especially the people that I work with, the women that I work with, they feel like they're all by themselves. They feel like they're alone with what they're thinking, what they're feeling, the shame, the guilt, the trust issues. And they're not, because every single person I have ever talked to about this topic has the exact same issues, no matter where they are on the spectrum of income and lifestyle and all of that. It's money is not just numbers, and that's, I think, a big disservice that we tell people when we learn about money growing up. It's how do you balance a checkbook, which I don't even know if they
Mhm.
do that anymore. It's the math of it, which yes, that's a part of it, but money is so much more because of the story, like generations and generations of stories that we've had about it and who has it and who doesn't have it and what that means or what that should mean. And because of all of this baggage, we try to simplify it down to just numbers. And that is not the way to do it. If you're trying to simplify it to just a math equation, everybody would be fine. The simple answer is you make more and you spend less. Like that's it. Everybody should be able to do that, quote unquote, should be able to do that, right? But they don't because there's all this other emotional and mental and there's just a lot in there that's all tied up with money from the time we were little, from the way we were raised
Yeah.
and all of that. So money, that's one of the big steps is learning to trust yourself with money. And you do that by learning and starting to understand the relationship you have with it and then building one, because that's not something people typically think about. Oh, it's just money, it's just numbers. No, it's a relationship you have kind of with yourself. And that is part of whether you have the money and you don't have the money. It's
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it's
it's
all
like
tied
a
up together.
separate relationship you have to pay attention to and
Correct.
trust. Like it
Correct.
is a relationship of trust that
Mm-hmm.
you do or don't have between you and money and the inflow of money and the outflow of money and all of the
Yep.
things. And you may or may not believe you are worthy of trust. Like I have so many clients that come to me who are just flat avoiding money.
Oh yeah,
In
absolutely.
business, in like that haven't looked at I somebody I have one who first 3 years never looked at her P&L.
Correct.
She knew there was money in her account.
Well, that's what most people do. They look at their
Yeah.
account and they see the number, and that's how they make their decisions, and that's how they decide what to do going forward, as opposed to like, okay, but you got to look at the past ones, figure out the future ones, and how do we feel about this? Like there's so
Yeah.
much more involved with it than just that, and trusting that more will come even if you invest in yourself or, all of that. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
and
whole thing.
that's and there's so much, as you said, so trust at the first level in yourself is a thing. Like that's a
Big.
thing that comes with feelings. And then it's trust in yourself in relation to money
Mhm.
has like a whole set of other feelings on top of everything. And so many of those feelings are like like top draft picks, as it were. They're like shame and
Oh, yeah.
fear, and they're
They're the
like,
feelings we
whoa,
don't want.
like first team, all bad feelings.
Yeah.
Um, and it is like it's such an important thing to think on. Like I had a conversation with a family member just last night about money and trust and choices. And it was like around a trip. And it was like, I said to her finally, like, okay, whether or not you have the money isn't the problem. How will you feel if you don't do this?
Correct.
And she was like, oh, I would be heartbroken. Go. Well, then there's the answer.
Hmm.
Right? It's like, do you trust that you know yourself and your wants? Because the whole idea of being able to want things is all tied up in this and wants versus
Correct.
needs. Oh
Yep.
no, there's
It's
a rabbit
so
hole and a
much.
half.
It's so much.
There's so much. And so I think this is why people start thinking about trust and it feels really hard. And then you add in money and they're like, oh no,
Hmm.
because there's so many layers just in that bucket. It's like a
Correct.
really big parfait, man.
It really is. And it's all interconnected. Like people try to separate it out. Like, oh, I can't talk about money when I'm talking about my relationships, or I can't talk about this, like they try and keep them, which I'm really good at that too. I like my separate clean boxes, but so, like there's not any part of your life that money doesn't touch. So
Yes.
you kind of have to figure it out to figure everything else out.
Well, it was like when I was coaching teachers a million years ago, I had a sixth grade teacher I was working with, and she was so excited at the start of the year. She was doing this bulletin board with her kids about how your family uses math at home.
Mm.
So she sent them home with this worksheet that was like, how do you use math at home? What kind of math do you do every day? And half the kids in her class brought it back and that said that we don't.
Hmm.
And it was just an interesting, A, she was like heartbroken, but B, we just learned we had to reframe it.
Yep.
And because people were like, oh no, those are separate. We don't do math at
Correct.
home. We do math at school. And people were like, the two of us were like, what? Like you guys go to the store, you buy gas, you tell time, you do all
Mhm.
these things. And they didn't see any of the math in any of that. It's just like people don't see the money and the impacts outside of like checks and
Paying the bills and
paying the
right.
bills, right? And so it was one of those experiences where like she and I looked at each other and we were like, okay, we're gonna have to think about this differently,
Yep.
right? Because it does touch everything, but so many people were like, oh no, I am an ostrich. I will be over there ignoring this, please and thank you.
Yep.
It was we did a different bulletin board for back to school night because the parent bulletin board that was full of like, we don't use math, please and thank you was not going to work, actually.
Yep.
That was not a great bulletin board. Um, what what are you working on now in trust? Like what are you practicing now? What are you working on and how do you practice trust? Let me change that question a little bit.
So what I'm working on now is learning to let go a little better,
Mm,
which is a big game of trust with me right now because I'm one that likes to hold on to things really, really tight.
same.
Whether that is a thought, even if it's a lousy one, or it's a situation, like I like to hold things because, well, we know that's familiar, like that's comfortable. I'm uncomfortable, but also I know this, so I want to hold on to this really tight.
Mhm.
And over the last couple years, I've been learning to let go of a lot of, I mean, everything from like core beliefs of things to like changing how I do my workouts to like, just making shifts and kind of shaking things up a little bit
Mhm.
because the path that I kind of was on was shifting and changing in business and life and everything. Everything is kind of shifting and changing. And that control freak in me kept trying really hard to like, no, we have to stay right here. And it's much easier about now that I am getting to that point where I'm learning to let go and knowing it's okay. And okay, well, let's just see what this, what if we do this instead, as opposed to this is the only way. Okay, but what if we do this? What if we think about this like this instead, And a lot of it is through like journaling and just being outside. I take a lot of walks in nature now and all of that, but it's really just a practice of paying attention to what's going on in my head and then reminding myself like, okay, I already decided I don't have to, somebody else had said that and I wrote it down. I already decided I don't have to think about that anymore. So when those thoughts, for example, that I've been holding on really tight
Yes.
to that I'm trying to let go, when it pops in my head, if I can catch it in time, okay, I already decided I don't have to think about that
Mm.
and then I can move on. Like, and that's all it takes. And then my brain's like, oh, okay. Like it agrees with me, which I wish it would do that more often. But like it like just is that one little sentence and my brain's like, okay, and it moves on. It'll come back again, but it moves on
Yeah.
to something else. And I'm like, oh, that letting like that was way easier than I ever made it to be before. It's a lot simpler than I ever, people say surrender. And again, throat punching. Like I don't know what that means.
Right. It's same. Well, but it is like, it's funny. I, in my head, what you're talking about is letting go, but it is also, flexibility.
Yes.
It is allowing the road to be the road versus again, we're back to control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making it be straight and paved.
Yes.
Like sometimes it's straight and paved and sometimes it's gravel. And I live outside of Philadelphia, and every now and then you turn a corner in the city and it's cobblestone and you're like, my poor car, what is happening? Or some other surface. And you have to be like, okay, am I going to stop the car and turn around?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to just let this be what it is?
Right. Or am I
And
just
it's
going to sit here and pout about it? You know, because I've been there too.
same where you're like, no, this road is unacceptable. I will wait. It's only
Exactly.
been here 250 years and I'm gonna be
It'll
the
get
one.
paved eventually.
They're gonna change it for me. Like, oh God, we're like, oh boy, okay. So it's um flexibility and sort of releasing your hands a little bit,
Correct. Not
right?
letting go in terms of like giving up, letting go and letting it be what it is and seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's like trying to drive the roller coaster car,
Yeah. Yeah.
which which just is, you can hold
Also
on
does not
tight,
work.
but ain't happening. Not gonna go where you want it to go. And most of the time I want it to go back. What? Talk to me about journaling. It's not the first time it's come up with people. And I actually have someone I have invited on in a couple of weeks. I have to get her scheduled because she teaches journaling. And we're going to talk about trust and journaling and sort of the practical pull through of that. Like I'm going to think
Mhm.
about it as like a practices and trust episode that's
Yep.
coming. We're going to do a bunch of those. But talk to me about journaling for you.
Oh, so journaling and I have a very rocky love-hate relationship.
Most people are the
Um,
same. Don't same.
like I get to a point, even yesterday, I opened it up and I put the date on and I have no idea what happened, but then suddenly it was today and I opened it up and I was like, huh, I wrote 0 things yesterday. It's so fascinating because I know how powerful it is. I have seen it in my own life where it changes things in me when I journal, when it changes my thoughts, where it lets me like open up and see things differently. I get so much out of it, both on the inside and then my outer world kind of reflects it, which sounds a little woo right there, but it totally does.
Yeah.
And my brain must really not like me to do that because I will constantly find myself getting distracted and not knowing why and not like it's almost like this is working and that's too scary, so we should stop now.
Mm. It's
There's a
like
lot
that
of those.
intolerance of growth.
Yes, yes. So I'll do real well for a while and then suddenly it'll be 4 or 5, 6 days and I'm like, huh, why did I stop? And I have no idea. Like there's not a logical reason, but all of a sudden a really good habit just vanishes one day and it's 4 or 5 days
I
before
think
I
this
realize
is
it's bad.
everybody. Like I
Mm-hmm.
talk to so many people, they're like, I did it for a minute and it was great. And then
Yep.
I don't know where it went. But I think the other thing I think about is I think brains can only, excuse me, they like we catch a point of change and then our brain is like, let's just stay here a minute, hold on,
Yes.
catching our breath. And I end up in those in between things still in my journal, but I end up like, you know, writing about things that don't feel so serious.
Yes.
Like I can't be serious in my journal all the time, or I start running from it.
Mhm.
Right. So I'll have like a day where I'm like, oh, that was big. Okay. And then for the next couple of days, I'm like drawing pictures or
Yeah. Do
like,
do do. What's the weather
right.
like
It's
today?
like, what could I do in here that is not earth changing?
Correct.
And and so I'm in there, but I will say the same, like I'm in there a force of habit, but sometimes it's less serious because I just don't have the tolerance for it. But
Hmm.
I think that's a part of the practice, right? Is knowing that like
Yeah.
sometimes it needs to be lighter.
Right. And I think that's part of the whole, like you said, the practice of it. It's a practice, it's a habit, yes. But if it's just a habit, so you're checking off the box, okay, that's not really like it'll do something for you, but like, what's the intention behind it? And like, why am I wanting to journal? Am I wanting to journal because I'm trying to force something in the world to happen?
Mm.
Lately, I'm playing an energy experiment with myself, and journaling has been a part of it. And the good news is it works. The bad news is that I started putting so much pressure on it as it's a tool. It's not like the magic, like it's not my journal isn't magical. I am, but I
Oh,
was forgetting that for a while. And so suddenly the days I didn't journal, I'm like, oh my gosh, now my day's going to be horrible. Like you put too much
yes.
on it then and
Yes.
forget like, no, actually I'm the one who creates all this. That's just the tool that I happen to be using right now. So that's been a fun little journey that I've been playing with too.
Well, it's very much like what are we ascribing our power to?
Yes.
Right? Is it like, are you giving the power to the journaling or the power to you who does the journaling? Are you
Right.
giving the power to the fact that you have that Wordle streak or the fact that you were the one that has the Wordle streak? Um, are you giving the power to yourself in that you showed up, or are you counting that, you didn't write that post today, therefore you have failed kind
Correct.
of thing? It's like where are you ascribing power outside of yourself?
Hmm.
And that's about trusting that you are the one that holds the power, I think.
Yes. And I think that's the message right there. Like we are the trusting that we are the ones that will figure it out and that have the power to do the things and all of that. And I think that's just a reminder. I have to write that on a post-it. Like that's just a reminder that we need to be reminded day after day after day because we'll remember sometimes and then life and then we forget and then we're giving all of our power away again.
Well, and it's like it's exactly right because we can only here's the thing about trust, it's like a sliding scale.
Hmm.
Sometimes we know we hold the power, and some days we're like, power? Is there power? Who's got it? Where do I find this power? And it
Right?
feels magic and
Hmm.
bizarre and impossible, right? Or you're like, hmm. So, how has building trust impacted your success? Like, I know that in the last 10 months, your business has changed pretty
Yeah.
significantly.
Hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about the change and trust and in that change?
So yes, my business has changed. Over the course of time, my business, I have done, I've dabbled in a lot. I'm a big fan of like, I try all the things and see what works. So I've done, one-on-one stuff and group stuff and courses and workshops and, all the things. And throughout all of that, bookkeeping had kind of entered my life kind of by accident while I was building my coaching business. It's again, looking backwards, I can see how everything happened that way, but in the beginning, I had a bookkeeping client, but I was not a quote unquote bookkeeper. Like that's not what I do. But then the CPA was like, "Oh, who did your books? Can she do more of the books?" So like that part of my business started growing without me meaning to. And if people were to ask me what I do, the word coming out of my mouth would never have been bookkeeper. I actually dissuaded somebody from hiring. I know her and I see her in person, and I told her she couldn't hire me because I wasn't quote unquote really a bookkeeper at that time, like this was a year ago. And she's still mad at me about that, by the way. But yes, my business changed and I started losing trust in myself in my coaching, to be honest, and in that part of my business while the bookkeeping was growing. So my business shifted and that became my bigger focus. The bookkeeping, the meeting new business owners this way. I'm really good with organizing and patterns and like the bookkeeping comes relatively easy to me. So it makes sense for me to do it. And I was keeping that very separate from my coaching business for a while because the clients I had for bookkeeping they were not my people that I would ever talk to about coaching. And about a year ago, yeah, about 10 months ago, or a year ago, I had a new bookkeeping client come in who was the first one that I was like, huh, this person actually could probably also use some, like money coaching and mindset coaching and all of that. So that was the first time, again, I realized, wait, I'm on this path and I've been trusting this path, even though I have no idea where this path is going. And now I can see, okay, so the bookkeeping is one avenue for me to be able to help people and serve the people that need it because, business owners, they need their numbers fixed. And that also then could potentially be leading me to other people who are my people who, okay, I can help you with your books, but also I can help you with some of your money blocks over here too. Or also I can help you plan how you want to run your business in this way so you're, seeing more money come in and stay in as opposed to, excuse me, as opposed to like just kind of chugging along and hoping for the best. So it's been interesting to follow along the path and kind of see where it's going. And now that I can see it better, I'm more confident in my coaching again, which is crazy in my head because I don't know, it just is. And so I can start. I'm back at leaning into that side again too. So I'm they're playing nicely together as opposed to me keeping them in two separate rooms for such a long time. Like, nope, you can't play together and you can't play together because
Yeah.
you're just not the same. But now like it's all becoming cohesive and I can see a better picture now of what this can look like going forward.
Well, and I think you see it. I feel like what's interesting in things like that is, um, while we believe we have to be the first to see it, we are typically the last.
Mhm.
Because you and I know I saw it before, other people saw it before. The
Mhm.
people who came to you were like, I need both these things. And you were like, they're not two things. And so it's like I was the last to know I worked with people who were teachers. And I remember you looked at me and over Zoom and you were like,
Duh.
congrats. Like you were like, what is wrong with I was like, I help teachers. And you were like, uh-huh. I was like,
Yep.
what? And it was so internally changing to me. And everybody
Hmm.
else was like, okay,
Yeah,
did you not know? And for you, I think the world kind of was like, oh, well, but these things lead together.
correct.
And now you have been in it and seen it long enough that you're like, oh, snap, they do. That's interesting. But I think, we are often assuming we have to be the first to know. And the path of trust is knowing that it's going to work itself out and we'll figure it out when it's time, but other people might know first.
Right. Yes.
And
And
listening to them.
correct. Well, yeah, that's the key part right there is actually listening to them. As opposed to arguing, with them like, oh no, that's not it. Eventually you get hit over the head. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
same. I need the frying pan version where I'm like,
Yeah,
please just beat me with it. But I
correct.
think, it is trusting. It's like the external in trust of this, these people I trust as humans are saying this thing to me,
Mhm.
and I am allowed to absorb it
Yes.
and let it be true
Mhm.
because we argue with other people's truth of us,
Yeah.
particularly if it's good. The bad ones were like, yes, I am evil.
Absolutely.
But
I
the
will
good
beat
ones were
myself up
like,
with
meh.
you. Exactly.
So if you had one thing that you wanted people to be practicing with trust right now,
Mhm.
and you wanted them to walk away and think about, what would it be?
Ah, so honestly, I think just remembering that it's a practice, which
Mm.
means you have to do it all the time. So like it's not a one and done kind of decision. It's not a like you're never going to arrive to the place where like, okay, I am here. I like 1000% trust myself and I am never going to doubt myself ever again
Mm.
because then life happens. Like it's something you have to do every day. You have to make the choice to trust yourself, which I'm pretty sure I learned from you actually. It's a decision that you build and then it gets stronger and it gets stronger and it gets stronger. And some days it's not going to show up the way you want, but then in other days it will. So the
Yeah.
more you have the days where it will, the smoother things will kind of go for you.
Well, it's like squats. They're no fun. And also, the more of them you do, the more of them you can do, and the stronger you are.
Exactly.
But this
Exactly.
is like, so I think the
Building that
question,
muscle, the trust muscle.
yeah, it's a trust muscle. So the question is constantly like, how am I leaning into trust right now?
Yeah.
What am I trusting right now? What am I not trusting right now?
Hmm.
Um, what does it look like to trust myself?
Hmm.
Those kinds of questions really make all of the difference. Um, Make us an offer.
Make you an offer.
Hmm.
Um, I am looking to meet more people, preferably like you, because you're one of my favorite people. I have a free Facebook group that I am working on kind of rebuilding and getting all of my favorite people into because I like to have a place to play. And like being out in the internets in the entire world seems a little scary. So I start with my little Facebook group.
Amen.
It it is called Money Coaching for Women Entrepreneurs. It is full of things like journal questions. I pop in there live sometimes with random mindset things that happen to be going on
Important.
in my brain at that moment. Money tips, a little bit of everything that has to do with money or life or just kind of building that relationship again, the trust relationship with yourself. And I would love to see more people in there.
Okay, now trust me for a second and make us an offer we could pay for.
Oh, geez.
Welcome to how this relationship works, my friends.
Well, I have two different ways that people can work with me right now. I do have a couple of openings for bookkeeping clients. So if any of your people are out there in business and swimming around feeling a little bit lost with their business numbers, I will happily get on a call with them, talk with them. I do a review for people to kind of see where they are and try and help with that. And also, I am working on getting my one-on-one coaching back up and running a little bit more than it has been. I want to start building relationships with people where I am, yes, kind of helping with the money, but that's more of the side, kind of like extra special sauce on the side. I'm really leaning into the space of more mindset work and energy work and getting that feeling, like feeling better about their money. So, kind of working with people with how they are thinking about money and me helping them shift that.
Okay, I want you all to be listening to me and know that like she just pulled the punch there on the mindset side, and I love her. And she's treating it like it's new, and it is not. She has been
It,
doing this a very long time, and
I
she's
have been.
really good at it because she calls me on my shit constantly. Where she'll
I
be like,
have.
really? That has definitely happened. And it's happened many times over many years where she'd be like, why are you thinking about it like that? And she's very nice to me. It doesn't sound like that, except sometimes with me it might. And please know that she knows how to help you because damn, she calls me on crap. I'm not
It
allowed
has
to do
been
that with
around
you.
for a while, yes. It's been a five
Yes.
a 5 year journey, and I am okay. Fine. I enjoy it very much. I just put it on the back burner for a while I was
Yeah,
building the
and
other.
that's fair,
So
but it is something you are exceptional at, and I don't want you to downplay it. Not allowed because you definitely will be in calls and you'll be like, what? Like, oh no. Uh, so, friends, please go find Jessica. Please go in her Facebook group. Please follow her in the LinkedIn because that's a cool place.
that's new.
She's learning to like it there.
Hmm.
And the Instagram and all the places. We'll make sure you have links to all of those places. Remember that my world is uncomplicating business for teachers, helpers, and givers. If you're not in the Facebook group, come play with us. It's a fun place to be. I'm pretty sure in the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to play some sort of LinkedIn game. I don't know what it looks like yet, but it's coming.
Yay.
Um, and if I can be of help to you in one-on-one coaching, or you are fighting through selling and sales and trust and trusting your sales process, come on into Selling for Weirdos. It is a lovely place to be, and it's, changing sales forever. So it's a big deal. Miss Jessica, I Love you. And I'm happy to see your face. And I think people are going to get a lot out of this. So thank you so much
Yay.
for coming to play with me.
Thank you for asking me. I always have fun with you, so thank you very much.